Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Well, maybe after all, the sanctions kind of work against Russia. And that comes from a Russian media outlet, which is Russia Today. That's the first topic for this video, which is the Russians forecast major increase in budget deficit. That means what you use versus what you produce, is greater and it's increasing. So the more you pay, like let's say I'm going to buy a house, but I don't have the amount, and I buy another house, I don't have the money, it's going to increase the deficit of production versus spending. So what do we have here? That's the first topic. And the second one, and it comes from the Russians reporting that. I would, you know what I mean? At least not now during a war. The second topic has to do with the European Union, and we're going to find out how over 20% of European Union residents facing poverty. 20%, my friends. That's 1 out of 5. 1 out of 5 face poverty in the rich world. You want to go to Europe? You want to settle there? Unless you're a millionaire. If you're a millionaire, you go over there. Probably things will be good for you, even though I don't believe so. I know how much everything costs over, not everything, but I know how much things cost over there. All right, why a millionaire? Well, it's not going to hurt you too much, but what's the point? Stay in America, pay less taxes, and go over there and visit. All right, so let's start with the first topic, which is over 20% of European Union residents facing poverty. Guess who's doing just fine? All right, let's see. More than 20% of the European Union residents face risk of poverty. European Statistical Office, Eurostat data showed. So this is not according to the Russians, this is according to the Europeans themselves. In 2024, that is last year, 93.3 million people, let's say 100 million people in the European Union, which is 21.1% of the population, were at risk of poverty or social exclusion, the agency said in a statement on Wednesday. All right? At least 1 in 3 signals of poverty and social exclusion was observed in the households of these people. These are problems with income, deprivation in the material or social spheres, as well as low employment, the statement added. The countries most exposed to poverty problems include Bulgaria, Romania, Greece, Spain, and Lithuania, the ones that provide drones to Ukraine and millions of dollars. And they're ready to deploy troops in Ukraine. These guys. And they have a problem. The statement read, noting that the lowest shares of people at risk of poverty were recorded in Czech Republic, 11%, Slovenia, Mrs. Trump, the Netherlands, I don't get that one, Poland, look at that, Poland, it's a big success, and Ireland, even though you have 16%. Now, if you think that's a big success, it's a big success. Why? Poland is about, what, 42 million people or so? Oh, no, it's about 3 trillion, because the Poles want, okay, you guys are 3 trillion population, okay, people population, not 42. I don't want to minimize you, but if I look at Czech Republic or Slovenia, Slovenia is a small country and has 14.4%. But anyway, here it is. This is the great European Union, 21% poverty rate. That's great, isn't it? But hey, why is it so? Well, you have any industry? Oh, you have services. Like what kind of services? All right, let's go to the Russians. And that's, for me, is more, not important, but it shows, it could predict a disaster for the Russians and a win for the guys in charge of us here. Russia Today, 1st of May 2025. Russia forecasts major increase in budget deficit. It's an increase, but in the wrong direction. The figure was raised by more than 200% as Moscow prepares for lower oil prices, the financial ministry has said. Well, you can't just base your economy on the revenues of your resources sell. You can't just do that. But I think it was the 1.40%. I don't know how much it is right now. revenue coming only from selling your resources. Russia's budget deficit is set to soar to more than 3 times the government original target for 2025, according to the Finance Ministry. The revised outlook comes amid falling global oil prices and escalating trade tensions worldwide. Why oil price? There's no demand? If there's no demand, that means the economies are shitty. But still, there are people around. Well, how about the sanctions? Last month, Finance Minister Anton Siluanov warned of potential budgetary stress due to declining oil revenues and global economic instability, saying the ongoing trade wars, which are reducing export opportunities for many countries, including Russia, remain a major risk. This year, the overall fiscal deficit is forecast at 1.7% of GDP, compared to the previously projected 0.5% deficit. According to a statement released by the ministry on Wednesday, in monetary terms, the budget shortfall is expected to total 3.8 trillion rubles, which is $46.3 billion. $46 billion. And United States of America has how much? $1.3 trillion deficit. Isn't that what it is? I think it was last time I checked, a few months, was $1.3 trillion. All right? Then it's billion dollars. The budget priorities remain unchanged. Social support for citizens, that means we don't want you to go to Kremlin and the guys over there. We're going to give you money, like these guys print money. The Russians will make money as well. Russia has a lot of gold. It has resources. So I am not concerned with that too much. Support for social citizens, funding for national defense and security, weapons, military-industrial complex, yeah, they have it too. And assistance for the families of participants in the special military operation, ensuring the country's technological leadership. Well, let's say assistance for the families of participants. Assistance for the families of participants in the war. How many do you think there are participants in a war? I would say $200,000. 200,000 people. Let's say 300,000. I know you say, no, it's about 800,000. 800,000. Are they Russians? The Russian military, I think, that's involved over there, I don't think it's more than 300,000. The rest are the guys from the Donbass. Not that many, maybe. Some of them are volunteers and so on. So let's say you get, I'm going to give you 500,000. 500,000. And you have families, 500,000 of those families. Well, you say, well, we didn't take into consideration people who died already. All right, how many would died over there? Another 500,000? Does these guys claim? 1 million. Is it a lot? It is something, but I don't think that plays too much. But let's see what the oil is doing and what the reasons are. The Ministry Economic Growth outlook for 2025 remained unchanged for 2.5, but the inflation estimate that has been raised from 4.5% to 7.6% by the end of the year. Inflation is what exactly? You know, when your money loses value because first is printing more money, dumping more money in the economy. That's the first one. Why? To pay the salaries for the guys. The spending plan, that's one of the reasons. The spending plan for 2025 was also increased by 830 billion ruble, that is $10 billion. That's pocket change for some, isn't it? Now, the forecast for the price of Russian oil has been lowered from 69.7 to 56 per barrel. Projected oil and gas revenues will account to 8.32 trillion rubles, which is $100 billion or 3.7% of the GDP. So that's it. Just oil and gas nowadays is just 3.3. So let's say 4% is not 40 as these guys claimed. Well, that's good. That's good. That means if you're not so much depending on oil and gas sales, that's good. Global oil prices have been declining in recent weeks. Well, if that happens to Russia, what happens in the other oil selling countries? Has been declining in recent weeks due to the increased supply of economic uncertainty. I know the gold jumped like crazy. Demand for oil has been weakening by the global economic slowdown. What's that global economic slowdown? I told you, the demand, because they're not doing much. Driven in part by tensions over trade. So why? We're not going to produce anymore? We're not going to invest. That's true. In April, oil prices dropped by more than 11%, and the gold jumped at least 11%. In the past 2 months, gold jumped from about $2,900 per ounce. So 1,900. It jumped to 2,400. That's what they got. And right now it's 2,300 and something like that. It dropped about $80 today. All right, my friends, this is it. This is exactly what those guys hoped in the West, that once they will impose sanctions on the Russians, the ruble will become rubble, and the population will pick their pitchforks, and their torches and go to the Kremlin and pull a Gaddafi on Putin. Well, it didn't happen because the Russians were smart and they blocked each and every one. Pack, pack, oops, hop, hop, and that's it. And then poking in the eye, the West. With what? With petrodollar. And it's a big poke in the eye. We'll see if the economy of Russia drops, then Putin will be forced to accept, make concessions, even if on a battlefield they would increase their, they will advance. We'll see. I think we fall before Russia falls. Remember, always the person who has things and resources will win, not the person who provides services. I mean, I provide a massage, but I need to eat. I provide massage, but I need a house. I provide massage, but I need electricity. I provide massage, but I need a lot of things. So the person who has the resources and can defend their resources from the plunderers will be the guys holding the cards, as Trump says. You have no cards? Oh. And the other guy's like, what the fuck cards is this guy talking about? Toilet paper? That kind of cards. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.